Why Russia won't use nuclear weapons against Ukraine. As Ukraine's counteroffensive continues to make strides, the international community is abuzz with speculation about Russia's potential next moves. With tensions escalating and incursions into Russian territory, many are left wondering why Russia, a nuclear superpower, has not resorted to its most formidable arsenal. The reasons for this restraint are rooted in a complex web of geopolitical calculations, historical precedent, and the broader implications of nuclear warfare. The recent Ukrainian incursions into Russia, particularly in the Kursk region, have brought the conflict closer to the heart of Russian territory than ever before. The Kursk region, not just historically significant due to its role in World War II, but also strategically crucial, is once again at the forefront of a major conflict. During the summer of 1943, Kursk was the site of one of the largest tank battles in history, where Soviet forces successfully repelled Nazi Germany's advances. Today, the region symbolizes Russia's resilience and strategic depth, making it a critical area for both symbolic and military reasons. In the current geopolitical landscape, the Kursk region serves as a buffer zone, protecting the Russian heartland from direct confrontation. Its proximity to the Ukrainian border makes it a crucial area for Russia to defend, but it also highlights the vulnerability of Russian territory to incursions. Ukrainian forces' ability to mount operations in this region is a testament to the effectiveness of their counteroffensive. However, it also raises questions about Russia's military capabilities and strategic choices. Given the incursions into its territory, why hasn't Russia escalated to the use of nuclear weapons? The answer lies in the intricate calculus of international perception and the long-term consequences of such an action. The use of nuclear weapons, particularly against a smaller and militarily weaker nation like Ukraine, would have far-reaching implications that Russia cannot afford to ignore. One of the most compelling reasons for Russia's restraint is the perception of military incompetence that would inevitably follow the use of nuclear weapons. If Russia were to resort to its nuclear arsenal, it would signal to the world that it was unable to defeat a much smaller adversary through conventional means. This would not only damage Russia's reputation as a military power, but also undermine its position as a global leader. The use of nuclear weapons would be seen as an act of desperation, suggesting that Russia had no other viable options left. Furthermore, the use of nuclear weapons would open a Pandora's box of global consequences. Nuclear weapons are not just tools of war, they are symbols of ultimate power and responsibility. The very act of using them would set a dangerous precedent, encouraging smaller nations to seek their own nuclear arsenals as a means of self-defense. This proliferation would destabilize the global order, leading to a world where nuclear weapons are no longer the exclusive domain of the major powers. The risk of nuclear conflict would increase exponentially, making the world a far more dangerous place. The potential for accidental or unauthorized use, the increased likelihood of nuclear terrorism, and the erosion of global security agreements are just a few of the many dire consequences that could result from the use of nuclear weapons. One of the primary reasons nuclear powers like Russia strive to control the proliferation of nuclear weapons is to prevent the scenario of a nuclear-armed world. The logic is simple. If every nation possessed nuclear weapons, the likelihood of a catastrophic conflict would rise dramatically. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, EMAD, a key principle of nuclear deterrence, relies on the fact that only a few nations have the capability to unleash such devastation. MAD posits that if one nation were to launch a nuclear attack, the other would respond in kind, leading to mutual destruction. If this balance were to be upset, the very concept of major powers would be undermined. A world where any nation could challenge a superpower with nuclear weapons would render traditional military superiority obsolete. Moreover, the acquisition of nuclear weapons by smaller nations would lead to a form of equality that the major powers are keen to avoid. In the current global order, nuclear weapons are not just a means of deterrence. They are a tool of influence and control. They allow major powers to project their strength and maintain their dominance over smaller nations. If this balance were to be disrupted, the entire concept of global power dynamics would be upended. The ability to invade or coerce smaller nations would be severely diminished, leading to a more multipolar and potentially chaotic world. Another crucial factor in Russia's decision-making is the understanding that the use of nuclear weapons would have catastrophic consequences for its own survival. While the threat of nuclear retaliation from other powers like the United States or NATO is a significant deterrent, the more immediate concern is the potential fallout from a nuclear strike on Ukrainian territory. The radiation and environmental damage would not be confined to the immediate area of the strike. Depending on the wind patterns and the scale of the detonation, radioactive fallout could easily drift back into Russian territory, causing widespread devastation. Additionally, the use of nuclear weapons would almost certainly lead to a complete diplomatic and economic isolation of Russia. The international community, including some of Russia's current allies, would be forced to condemn such an action. The sanctions that Russia currently faces would pale in comparison to the global response to a nuclear strike. Russia's economy, already strained by the ongoing conflict and sanctions, would collapse under the weight of further economic isolation. The loss of international trade, investment, and diplomatic relations would push Russia into a state of severe economic depression, with dire consequences for its population. It is also important to consider the internal dynamics within Russia. The decision to use nuclear weapons would not be made lightly, and it is likely that there would be significant opposition from within the Russian government and military. The risks associated with such a decision are so high that it would require near-unanimous support from the highest levels of power. Given the potential for catastrophic consequences, it is doubtful that Russia's leadership would be willing to take such a gamble unless the survival of the state was at stake. Unless Ukraine were to push its forces to the outskirts of Moscow, and Russia was facing imminent collapse, the likelihood of Russia resorting to nuclear weapons remains low. Even in the face of Ukrainian incursions into its territory, Russia's current strategy appears to be one of measured response rather than reckless escalation. The use of nuclear weapons is a last resort, one that would only be considered in the direst of circumstances. Russia's decision to refrain from using nuclear weapons in the ongoing conflict with Ukraine is not just a matter of military strategy. It reflects the broader implications of such an action. The use of nuclear weapons would signal a failure of conventional military power, open the door to global nuclear proliferation, and risk catastrophic consequences for Russia and the world. The Kursk region, with its historical significance and strategic importance, is a symbol of Russia's determination to defend its territory, but it is also a reminder of the delicate balance that must be maintained in a world where the threat of nuclear war looms large. For now, Russia's restraint is a testament to the understanding that some lines should not be crossed, no matter the provocation.